Our guest today is Ambassador Samuel Hinds, the permanent representative of Guyana to the Organization of American States and the United States. Ambassador, welcome to our program, Caribbeana.
Thank you very much.
Well, Guyana has been in the news quite a bit, with your country having coming into a massive wealth. Would you kindly tell us, what does that bring to the country?
Well, as many would know, Exxon, leading a consortium, discovered oil offshore Guyana, the far offshore and quite deep, about mid-2015, and they developed it rapidly, starting production at the end of 2019, and there has been a flow of income since, starting at zero and growing. This has been a significant addition to our budget as we have it set up.
Yes.
Our flow from oil in particular goes into a natural resources fund, and the main use of that fund is to support the budget. Money leaves the fund mainly through the budget, so it comes under all the supervision and checks of the budgetary process.
Right.
Our principle is that we are aware of the question of global warming and bringing the use of fossil fuels to an end. And so our principal position is that we must use the money from oil to develop our people and to develop an economy that would not need oil after oil is ended, say, 2050, by 2050. So we're looking forward to a period where oil income is going to grow and be a greater percentage of our economy, maybe up to 40%, but then hopefully other things will also be growing and oil will become a smaller part.
Right.
So there's been big emphasis on putting in infrastructure, a bridge across the Demerara River in the first instance, a bridge across the Berbice River, a joint bridge, Guyana and Suriname across the Corentyne River. And these are high-level bridges that under which ships could pass so as not to inhibit shipping along the rivers.
Right.
So that's one big thing. Another big project that we were looking at for nearly a century is a road that goes down to Lethe in the Rupununi and links in with the road the Brazil road that goes through Boa Vista and down to the Amazon, to Manaus on the Amazon.
Yeah.
It's interesting that around 1927, Henry Ford, the great industrialist, motor car industrialist, pioneer in the US, had taken some land around Manaus in Brazil to do his own rubber plantation, and he was looking to ship the rubber to the US through this sort of road,
Right.
to Georgetown.
Yeah.
So that is coming into reality, maybe
Right.
years behindhand.
The area you speak of, is it near North Brazil? Near
No,
Belém do Pará?
no, it's in the north of Brazil. There was Roraima State. Previously, Roraima, I think maybe up to 20 years ago, Roraima may not have yet been a full state. It maybe was under direct rule, but now there's Roraima State, and the capital is Boa Vista. It's about same size and population as Guyana, the Roraima State.
Will this provide an opportunity to engage with relations economically, cooperatively with Trinidad and Tobago and their gas find?
Yes, there's been quite a bit of discussion about how the Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana and Suriname may work together for their better benefit of each of them. There's discussion going now, I think, particularly in the area of gas, seeing that there is a gas shortage in
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago, and the Dragon Field that
Right.
was to be developed between them and Venezuela. I think it cuts a bit onto Venezuelan side. I think that has run into some problems recently with the license being apparently held suspended
Right.
by the U.S. government. So
Yeah.
that's an issue there. Uh, so they're looking for opportunities. There has been discussion about a pipeline, gas pipeline that might flow from Suriname and Guyana into Venezuela.
Right.
Those sorts of things that are being discussed uh, at this time.
Right. Now, what does this do in terms of the relations with Venezuela? I know that there are talks, a solution has been reached by the UN and so forth. But what is happening right now on the ground?
Well, right now, Guyana and Venezuela, the relationship is pretty much zero. In the time of Chavez, Petrocaribe had been developed, and Guyana was a member of the Petrocaribe.
Right.
But after Chavez died and Maduro came into office, and apparently not having the charisma of Chavez, and time passing, it appears he has been having difficulty in holding elections and winning elections. So he has been managing the election, shall we say. It
Yeah.
was this last elections in July 28. Now, it has been that a government or a party in some difficulty in Venezuela would usually shout about going and taking over the Essequibo
Right. Right.
of Guyana, the Essequibo County of Guyana, which is about 60 plus percent
Yeah.
of Guyana.
Yeah.
Now, that story goes back to maybe to the beginning of the 1800s, when the Dutch, the French, the English, the Spanish were all around in this area, establishing trade posts and so on. And out of that, eventually, after Venezuela had become independent, maybe in the 1820s or something, eventually over 1886 to 1899, there was a commission, an arbitration group set up, international arbitration group set up to draw the boundary line between the then British Guyana and Venezuela. And
Right.
in 1899, they drew their line, they gave their ruling. This line, I must say, also had implications for the Brazil-Venezuela-Guyana border.
Right.
Also, so the ruling was made in 1899, and everybody went and put it in place. However, when independence of Guyana came along just about that time, as a claim surfaced in Venezuela that the British ambassador may have had one of the judges to dinner the night before and might have corrupted him something more favorable.
Right.
Let me
Right.
say that more or less, the British could have had reason to claim maybe all the way to the Orinoco River,
Right. Right.
the west bank of the Orinoco, and the Venezuelans maybe claimed up to the east bank of the Essequibo. And this
Right.
line was drawn in between. And the judgment in many of the papers at the time in Venezuela was that they had got the better part of the deal. But then in the 1960s, this claim surfaced, and it suits the political position in Venezuela.
Right.
Whichever political party feels it's losing,
Right.
it tends to come and say, I'll be more active in taking over
Right.
Essequibo, try to generate more
Right.
support. And we're stuck in that. So it has become one of the main planks now for Maduro getting thing, and he has been doing a series of steps. He's been taking a series of steps or of actions.
Yes.
Last July 28th, publishing that now Guyana is another state, another province,
Right.
and that he will hold elections. The most recent one is that he will hold elections in the
Yes, you.
province on the 25th of May, which is the day before our Independence Day,
Yeah.
6th of May.
Yeah.
So that is it. We've had some shooting incidents across the Cuyuni River.
Right.
At this time, it appears that it is maybe gang members or private people
Right.
who in these circumstances, they may be,
Yeah.
they may or may not be having the support of the
Right.
Venezuelans.
But
But
no soldiers have been.
we're taking the position that they're not supported by the Venezuelan government and pressing that
Right.
the government detains these gang leaders and punish them.
Right. But no soldiers have been hurt. We understand no soldiers.
No soldier was hurt in this last instance. There was an instance maybe 6 months ago when soldiers were hurt on our side, but 3 of the persons on the other side were thought to have been killed.
Right. Well, I mean, it's amazing that having gone through so much with independence from the British, and now you have to fight to establish your own,
Yes.
What's the multiracial situation in the country going? I mean,
Yes. So this has been one of our challenges, in that Guyana, and to some extent Trinidad and Tobago and Suriname, and maybe Jamaica in particular to a lesser degree, in Guyana, history has thrown together 6 different peoples coming from different locations and fitting into different slots in the colonial society.
Right.
And our big task is to bring these people together, converging over some time and over a number of generations.
Right.
Some people remark that Guyana is a divided country, and I say Guyana is not a divided country. Guyana, a country where people are coming together.
Right.
We were never one and then dividing. We
Right.
are 6 groups of people who are coming together, and so I am more heartened about the progress we have made.
Right.
Dismayed by the instances we've had.
Right.
Of some conflicts and disturbances. I think we've been making great progress, and I would say right away that Chedi Jagan, who can be called the founder of Guyana, at least the founder of formal political parties in Guyana, from the very beginning in his 1953 government before independence, internal self-government. He set out to have a cabinet that represented all the people of Guyana from different areas. And it is because of this that when the party was to be founded in 1950, the People's Progressive Party, he brought in the recently returned to Guyana very very bright, sharp lawyer named Forbes Burnham, was invited to become chairman. Actually, Ashton Chase was to be chairman.
Right.
And I was with Janet Jagan and Ashton Chase in the year 2000, when they were having 50-year celebrations for the People's Progressive Party. And Janet musingly said to Ashton, "I often wonder how our politics in Guyana would have turned out if we didn't insist that you step aside as chairman and let Forbes Burnham come in as chairman of the party."
Right.
You would know that he subsequently thought that he should become the leader of the party, and eventually the party
Right.
split within a couple of years. 1955, the party was split.
Right. Well, it's been nice talking to you, you know. But before we go, the diaspora, how do you see the government relating with the diaspora as its new advancement towards its prosperity?
Well, we are certainly open to the diaspora, and we welcome all of the diaspora, any and all of the diaspora, to return and take part in the growth and development of Guyana. However, we are aware that for the majority of the diaspora, they have established themselves in the US in jobs and homes and careers and so on, so that in reality, maybe only 5% maybe of the diaspora would be in a position where they could decide to move to Guyana.
Yes.
We have retired people who may move to Guyana because they're now retired, they're living on pension, and their pensions may go further in Guyana than it goes in the US. On the other hand, they have had their setups with their health insurance, Aetna and
Right.
Health and so on. Those things matter when you get old, those things matter. So I think what's happening is that diaspora are still continuing to send remittances in Guyana, and maybe there are more visits.
Right.
And yes, some of the diaspora, maybe much smaller numbers than one would imagine and expect, are turning to Guyana.
Right. Yes, Guyana is a lovely place. I have had the opportunity of visiting and interviewing, Chetty Jagan and
Yes,
Forbes Burnham
yes.
and
And
Hamilton.
Hamilton Green. Yes, Hamilton Green is the only one of the three that is still alive, and he's still
Wow.
writing in the newspapers.
Right. Ambassador Hinds, thank you so much for talking with us, sir. Anything
Oh,
you'd like to leave us with?
thank you for the opportunity. I think that the challenge for us, colonial people, is to put the colonial experience, try to put it behind us and move forward. I say particularly for Afro descendants, we should be aware that enslavement has been one of the most common institutions amongst men all around. Most of us would know the story about Joseph being sold into slavery in Egypt by his brothers,
Right.
and so on. So slavery, enslavement has been that. It has left a lot of negatives with us, but we have to get beyond it. The challenge is for us to maybe take on more responsibilities, feel a greater sense of responsibilities. I think I see in Guyana's history some Africans who were brought into Guyana who were not enslaved. Some of the assumptions seem to be different from those who have had that. You know that after the British stopped trading in slaves, they took a position in 1906. They took a position that if they found any other slave ship, they would capture it and they would take the slaves and release them in one of their places, Guyana being one of those places.
Right.
So there's some interesting stories about some groups who are so released.
Right.
And one could see maybe that they feel and act differently because they did not have that experience.
Okay. Ambassador Sam Hinds, thank you very much. Huh?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. I've been speaking with Ambassador Samuel Hinds, the permanent representative of Guyana to the Organization of American States and ambassador to the United States. This is Von Martin. Caribbeana continues.
Thank you much. Bye.
Bye.